Do you know why some things sink and others float?
Or why something as large as a blimp can float in the air?
While something this small can't even get off the ground.
3, 2, 1. Contact is the secret, is the moment when everything happens. Contact is the answer, is the reason why everything happens. Contact. Let's make contact. 3, 2, 1. Contact.
All right, wait a minute.
Hey, what are you doing, Trini?
Figure out how this thing... I'm sorry. Oh, scared the life out of me. Just put him down.
Great.
Boy, it's nasty out there.
Sure is.
Hey, we better call our folks and let them know we're all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we don't break our necks first. Hey, don't you think you're carrying this hurricane preparation stuff a little too far?
Suppose there's a flood. Suppose there's 4 feet of water outside the door. I mean, it's a good thing I'm here because you two don't know anything about hurricanes.
This is Forcefield with an update on Hurricane Rufus. We are now on hurricane alert. Repeat, hurricane alert. Rufus passed over Puerto Rico and did much less damage than was expected.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to call my grandmother.
Now Rufus is heading for us. I'm standing outside the Weather Bureau, and I can tell you it's wet. Very wet. I'll be back as soon as I get some dry clothes.
Today we're talking about buoyancy. You know, the forces that make you sink or float.
Oh, golly. Just what I always wanted. A life jacket.
Did you ever wonder why some things float and some things sink? Well, I was going to get to do some sinking and floating today on purpose. I was with Sandy Barrett, and we were going snorkeling in Pennycamp State Park. It's a park that's all underwater with different kinds of animals. Sandy is a marine biologist. I found out that a marine biologist is a scientist that studies all the different type of life forms in the ocean. But before I could go snorkeling in the ocean, I had to learn in a nice, safe pool. Sandy, how come your legs went down to the bottom and mine stayed up?
Well, people are made up of different things, and muscle and bone are more compressed together than, say, fat. So apparently my legs must be made of more muscle and bone that makes them sink to the bottom.
So it's sort of like if you have a sponge and a rock of the same size, because the rock is more compact, it'll sink to the bottom and the sponge will float?
Right, exactly. Okay, let's put on your buoyancy compensator.
My buoyancy what?
Compensator. It's used to adjust your buoyancy while you're in the water.
Could you explain buoyancy for me?
Well, buoyancy is what makes you either sink or float. And the way this works is that you put air into it here if you want to float, and if you want to sink, then you let the air out.
So it's sort of like a life jacket?
Yeah, right. Here, let me show you how to do it.
Can I try it?
Sure.
Right. It helps a lot to keeping you up.
Right.
I'm gonna fill it back up now.
Once we got into the pool, Sandy showed me all the things you have to know in order to snorkel. She taught me how to clear the snorkel itself of water when it gets filled up. She also taught me how to work with the fins and how to move my legs back and forth. Floating in the pool without all the equipment was harder. When I put the fins on and was able to use them, it was much easier to keep afloat. We dropped anchor at a beautiful place for snorkeling.
Are there any dangerous animals that we have to worry about?
No, don't worry about any dangerous animals. You might see some barracuda, but they're not going to bother you any. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Snorkeling in the ocean was really different from snorkeling in the pool. In the pool, it was very calm and there were no waves. But in the ocean, once you jump in, the water's moving and it's pushing you back and forth. At first I was really scared, but I just took a deep breath and started swimming, and I started to feel really relaxed. And then we swam through the water. I couldn't believe how clear it was and how far we could see. It was incredible. I had seen underwater pictures of the ocean, but it was nothing like being there. There were fish almost everywhere we looked. Sometimes a big fish would swim right up to us. Different kinds of coral, which are made up of living and dead animals, were all around. Suddenly, we saw a really strange thing coming up from the bottom. Sandy told me later that it's called a porcupine fish. By the end of the day, I was tired, but I felt really excited about having met a whole new world of things that swim, sink, and float.
My grandmother's fine. The storm wasn't too bad.
Well, that's good. Hey, I hope it doesn't get too bad here.
I know.
You know, this is crazy. Do you know anybody that keeps a boat in their house? It's not gonna flood in here. This thing's not even comfortable.
Besides, how do you know it'll float?
It's made to float.
Yeah, so is the Titanic.
We're not going to run into any icebergs, Mark.
You know, that's something I never understood. How can things that weigh thousands of tons, you know, like icebergs and supertankers, how can they float?
Come here. I'll show you.
She's gonna make a great teacher when she grows up.
Knowledge is power.
Oh, give me power. Give me power.
Don't be so stupid. Now, hold out your hands and tell me if you think these two are about the same.
They feel about the same weight to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, here, let me have this. Now, watch. See? It sinks.
So?
So, if you think you're so smart, why don't you make it float?
Yeah, stand back. Give me some room. I'll put the whammy on it. Come right up.
All right, okay. Magic won't get you anywhere. Watch this.
Still coming out.
Oh. Come on, push up the water. I'm going to show you why something floats. There it goes.
All right.
All right.
Now what?
Okay. Now I'm going to take this piece and watch. See, it floats.
Yeah.
Well, look, when you put something in water, it pushes out the water, right? Because it takes up room. Now, when you change the shape and you put it in water, it pushes out more water. That way, it floats.
Look how much come out.
Look how much more.
You're right.
Still coming.
But let me ask you something. What about submarines? They sink and float, but they never change shape.
Somewhere in a boatyard in an East Coast harbor town, baby submarines are taking their first sinking lessons.
You were here today to learn about what makes submarines sink and what makes them rise to the surface, right?
Aye, aye, sir.
Any questions before I get started?
Does it make any difference what size you are?
That's a good question. It's not your size that counts, but how much water you have inside of you.
Oh, you mean like this can floating by? When it's empty, it floats. When it fills up with water, it sinks.
That's right. Now, check this diagram out carefully. These are the water tanks. Simple, huh? Now dig this. When there is no water in the tanks, the sub floats like this. But if the sub fills its tanks with water, it will sink just like the can did.
Okay, how do we float again?
We pump out the water. In the space where the water is, we put air pumped by these special tanks, making it possible for the sub to float again. Got it? Okay, you guys, in with the water and out with the air, and down you go. Start those rear propellers up. Good, good. Now in with the air and out with the water, and up you go.
No problem with those big turtles, huh?
Right. They're just don't even worry about them. They'll be there, but they won't bother you.
Bother you?
No.
Turn that air on, right? Just breathe.
Just breathe normal. There's not going to be, it's not like a regulator or anything where it's, you know, command, like where you have to suck in. The air is just constantly there.
So it's just like you're breathing anywhere else.
Exactly. Just like you're breathing right now.
Okay.
And just relax.
What about those big boys down there? If they get close, can I just brush them away? Or
they won't really bother you.
They're not going to bother you.
They won't.
Sure about that, huh?
I'm not going down.
I can bring this over now.
Yep. Watch your head now.
A little claustrophobic in there. The helmet made me top heavy. It weighed 40 pounds, but I needed the extra weight to make me sink. Underwater, I stumbled around, but the helmet felt so much lighter, like it weighed only a couple of pounds. That was because the air inside made it more buoyant. At first, I was scared, just me with all those thousands of fish, but they didn't bite me, and I relaxed. It's a different world down there. Everything seems to move in slow motion. In the ocean, these fish would feed on the smaller creatures that live in the coral reef. Here they have to be fed by hand 4 times a day. I gave them a mixture of herring and mackerel. The fish weren't afraid. This one big grouper, a giant sea bass, wouldn't eat, but he let me pet him. It felt strange sharing another animal's environment. Almost like being on another planet.
Looks like he's coming up. Here he comes. There's the helmet.
Turn off the air.
Incredible. How was it?
Absolutely incredible.
Okay, so we have a flashlight, batteries, a lantern, some food.
Hey, don't forget the Titanic over here.
Well, we've got just about everything we need to sit out this hurricane.
So can we please have some music? I mean, if we're going to be here, we might as well enjoy ourselves, right?
Good idea. I guess we can get our weather report by looking out the window. Oh, wow, real party.
Hey, listen, don't blow up too many of those things. It might lift us off.
Here in the Good Year Blimp. It's one of the only 3 blimps in the whole country. This one cruises in the New York area. How close can we get to the Statue of Liberty?
This is about as close as we'll be able to go.
Could I learn how to fly this?
Yeah, this wheel. The wheel makes it go up or down. Go ahead, move it.
Makes it go up or
No, up quite a bit. Now use both hands. No, pull up on it.
this way?
Yeah, we don't need to go down the water.
And how do you make it go from side to side?
Okay. From side to side is your feet. You can measure your left foot down. It'll gradually drift to the left. As you place your right foot down, it'll gradually go back to the right. Your feet work like a rudder, like in a boat.
Why is the blimp so light?
We've got the helium gas is picking us up, picking up all the weight.
How light is helium?
Helium's lighter than air.
Is that what makes it possible for us to go up,
Yes.
to float?
Yes, because it's lighter than air, and we're in the air, it's picking up the weight. It's picking up the total weight that we're...
So the air is carrying us, sort of?
That's basically it, yes.
You know how when you let a balloon go that has helium, it floats all the way up in the air? Why aren't we doing that, just going all the way up and up and up?
Right, if you put just the right amount of weight on it, it won't go up, nor will it sink. It'll just float. And that's the same principle right now. We have just enough helium to just float.
What if you added some weight inside the gondola? What would happen then?
Okay, if we brought 100 pounds aboard, we'd be 100 pounds heavy.
Then we'd sink, wouldn't we?
Yes. If I take 100 pounds off, we'll be 100 pounds light.
Can you fly out in any kind of weather, when it's raining and stuff like that?
Yes, you can fly when it's raining. The thing that will happen is the blimp will get very heavy. It will gain several hundred pounds of water.
So you mean like the rain sort of will push it down?
Yeah, it will push it down as well as the water that accumulates on the bag.
Well, wouldn't the water, fall off it?
Yeah, but before it falls off, it's heavy. It's just so large it won't run off fast enough.
Is it dangerous when it's windy? Could the wind, say, like, carry it off somewhere?
I think of it as similar to a boat that swirls on an ocean. It porpoises up and down. You notice you don't have seat belts in here.
Right.
All right, you will not be thrown out of the seat. Even in very severe weather up here, it won't pitch you out of the seat.
What's the difference between flying a plane and flying the blimp?
The main difference is in the way that it handles. This is very sluggish, very slow, like a canoe, trying to fly a boat. I'm sure that's how they got the word airship at one point, because it handles more like a ship, where an airplane reacts very quickly, mainly due to its speed and size. An airplane's flying 100 miles per hour, we're only flying 35.
Filling up this balloon with helium makes it float because helium is lighter than air. Floating seems like a big mystery, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Whenever there's trouble, we're there on the double. We're the Bloodhound Gang. If you got the crime, we got the time. We're the Bloodhound Gang.
A common egg, right? Now watch what happens when I drop it into a glass of water. The egg sinks.
Some trick.
But wait, watch the great Ricardo hypnotize the egg. I command you to do as I say. Float. I command you to float. Got that, egg? Float. Watch. Behold!
Hey, how'd you do that?
Easy. In the first glass is nothing but plain water. In the pitcher, I added a lot of salt to the water.
Bloodhound Detective Agency. Whenever there's trouble, we're there on the double. Mr. Bloodhound isn't here. Got it. Got it, Mr. Z. Be right there. Grab your camera.
What's up?
Batten's the president of Triple Z Insurance Company. Something about a flying clock.
With wings? That I'd like to see.
Stolen?
I thought you'd never ask.
Vanished without a trace. The rarest clock in my collection. Worth all these time tattlers put together.
Well, what exactly is a flying clock?
Flying pendulum clock, miss. Common knowledge, certainly.
Not for me.
This is a cheap imitation. The stolen clock was solid gold, and the works full of jewels. Unique, it had once belonged to Louis.
Louis?
Louis the 16th of France. He was a king.
Beheaded 1793. Insured.
Louis? Unlikely.
The clock, Mr. Keith.
Oh, indeed.
$150,000, Officer Dobbs. Mr. Keith has already put in the insurance claim. When was the clock stolen, sir?
Late last night during that sudden rainstorm, when I got a glimpse of the miscreants. Follow me.
What's a miscreant?
You must mean the burglar.
Why didn't he say so?
That's how the rascal got in and out.
You said you saw him.
Clearly. I fired my housekeeper. The place hasn't been dusted in days. You will excuse this pigsty.
We'll excuse. What happened exactly?
I had just turned on the water for a nice hot shower when I heard the phone. I closed the door behind me and went to answer it. As I hung up, I noticed that window open. I didn't realize it at the time, but the thief had already entered the house. As I returned to the bath, I was startled to see a reflection in the mirror. I feared for my life, but I got a good look at the burglar in the mirror. Tall as a beanpole, wild red hair, sunglasses, if you can imagine, a front tooth chipped.
Why didn't you notify us immediately?
Sheer cowardice. With that hoodlum on the loose in the house, I thought it the better part of valor to remain where I was, locked in the bathroom.
Red hair, chipped front tooth. May turn up in a mugshot. I'll get right on it.
That's the way out.
Hey, Vicky, something's wrong. I couldn't find any footprints.
Where?
Inside the window. If the burglar entered that way, you'd think there'd be footprints on the carpet.
This must be the way the burglar got into the bedroom window.
Can't find any footprints here either.
Hey, is this the Keefe residence?
Well, yes, it is.
Well, this was ordered for next week. I had to be out this way, so save the trip. Tell them no extra charge for early delivery.
I wonder what he's gonna do with all that salt.
Salt?
Hey, have a look at this.
What'd you find?
Footprints. Still slightly muddy. They go right to this wishing well.
Can hardly see anything. Sure is deep down there.
Maybe the burglar was thieved at Mr. Keefe and dumped his crazy old clock down here.
Except the footprints go right back to the house. I'll meet you back here this afternoon.
What's the rush?
I'm gonna go home and take a clue.
A clue?
I mean a shower. That could be the big clue if you're right, Ricky.
What'd I say?
If the burglar was steamed.
Is Vicky on the right track? Tune in tomorrow for the conclusion of The Case of the Flying Clock.
Hey, you guys, I think I figured out how things float. You've already shown us. That was in water.
So?
Look. Wouldn't float very long if Rufus flew in. Oh, I want to hear the weather report.
Here we go again.
What are you worried about now? You know your grandmother's safe. Yeah, but now I'm worried about us.
This is Force Field keeping you posted on Hurricane Rufus. Its force is definitely with us.
"3-2-1 Contact" is a production of the Children's Television Workshop.
This Friday, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and 3-2-1 Contact will not be seen in order to bring you 16 Days of Glory, a look back at the 1988 Seoul Olympics.
This is PBS.